course, there's been several movie versions of Frankenstein over the years, way too many to count. Just as an example, there's the 1931 Universal version, the 1957 Hammer version, and the 1993 made-for-television version that nobody remembers, but I sure do. It was made for the network TNT, and it premiered on June 13th, 1993.
Tomorrow night at 8, he will be released. I made him. I must destroy him.
And now that it's the 20th anniversary, I think it's time to get some recognition. That same month, TNT was running Monster Vision every Saturday night with Penn and Teller hosting. I was at the peak of my monster phase at the time, and it was an impressionable month for me. They ran an encore showing of this new Frankenstein as part of Monster Vision. I was already a fan of the classic Universal version, so I had to watch it. When I saw it, I was repelled by it. It was more gruesome than anything I had ever seen on television, and the monster didn't look anything like the classic image of Boris Karloff that I knew. Then I read the original novel by Mary Shelley and realized how much closer this movie is to its source material. I'd be interested to know, of all the Frankenstein movies in existence, which one is the closest to the book? To find a definite answer, I would have to watch over 80 films and restudy the book, but I will say this one is a contender. But with that being said, it does have many differences. How exactly Frankenstein creates the monster is left vague in the novel, but here he uses some kind of cloning machine.
And it's alive.
He copies himself, and the monster is born into a tank of water. It's surreal and fantastic, but for this interpretation, it works. The part that so many of these movies ignore is when Frankenstein brings life to his creation. In the novel, he's horrified by it and rejects the monster, but here, once again, the monster is the one who runs away. This monster is as tragic as they come. We all remember when the Karloff monster accidentally drowns a little girl. Well, here, he does the opposite. He rescues a girl from drowning, only to get shot at. Also, Frankenstein and the monster share some kind of bond, sort of like E.T. and Elliot. Every time something happens to the monster, Frankenstein feels it. There's a scene when they're both having happy moments. The monster's making friends with the old man, and Frankenstein's with his fiancée. So right now at this moment, what's happening with the monster? Is he making out with the old man? This aspect of the movie is where I think it went a little too far. And it's not always addressed. There's a scene where the monster gets electrocuted and nothing happens to Frankenstein. It's not consistent enough, and there's no ultimate payoff. The monster accidentally kills Frankenstein's brother, an aspect of the novel that most film adaptations ignored.
He killed my brother.
Frankenstein, overwhelmed with feelings of revenge, chases after his creation.
Any of you gentlemen seen a stranger?
It's almost like a Western. This is where the movie gets real interesting, and the performances start to shine.
You made me, and you teach me nothing. Why did you make me like this?
Frankenstein is played by Patrick Bergin, and the monster is played by Randy Quaid, who manages to evoke both sympathy and horror. Both of these guys ham it up a lot. They play it like they're trying to win Academy Awards, and that's not a bad thing. There's nothing worse than a one-note performance, and that's definitely not the case here. Sometimes when a director tells an actor how big to go with the performance, they'll use a scale of 1 to 10. They'll say, like, give me your 7, or give me your 8, and so on. Well, here's Patrick Bergin's 1.
I've discovered the secret of life, Clerval. Here. In this very room.
Here's his 10.
I swear by the God who made me, I will destroy you!
So there's a lot of range. The creepiest, most disturbing scene that still haunts me to this day is when Frankenstein is forced into creating a mate for his monster. He uses his fiancée as the source for the cloning, and it puts her in too much pain. And just as the female monster is beginning to take shape, Frankenstein aborts it, and we're savored every gross detail of all the flesh and blood pouring out into the gutter. The monster watches from the window and is enraged. He crashes through the glass and tears apart the lab. This is an old cliché seen in plenty of Frankenstein films, but never with so much manic emotional context. After the monster collapses, Frankenstein assumes he's dead and goes on to marry his fiancée. On their wedding night, the monster strikes back and kills his wife. Now, Frankenstein is madder than ever and chases the monster all across the world. The monster leads him to the barren icelands of the North Pole so that he can feel the same sense of abandonment and isolation as himself. This is some pretty heavy stuff. It truly brings the sad and tragic nature from the pages of the novel onto the screen. It begins as a pretty weak adaptation, but it gets a lot better as creator and creation become mortal enemies. It's not perfect, but for a TV movie, it's not bad. So why is it so forgotten? I'd imagine mostly because the following year, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was released. This one came out in theaters and was a big production with big stars like Robert De Niro. The TNT version never got the attention it deserved, so I hope I can help shed some light on it. If you're a fan of the Frankenstein story and you want to see a lot of the movies, definitely don't skip this version. Give it a watch if you could find it.
Frankenstein, a terrifying motion picture from TNT. Tomorrow night at 8.